You are listening to the Curtis King Podcast.
Music producers, first and foremost, I have a confession. When I'm sitting here right now looking busy, I'm not doing a damn thing except for waiting for this podcast to start. Thank you for joining me, the Curtis King Podcast. I get that idea from whenever you see like the news, you watch the news, and then the first 5 seconds the studio is going fading from black, and then a person is like typing and they're looking in their phone and they're like, "Good morning. This is the news at 9 p.m. or 9 a.m., whatever." You get what I'm saying. Anyways, that's me just trying to act busy. Had to give you a little behind the scenes. What's going on with you? How you doing? Thank you for joining me for the Curtis King Podcast. Whether you're listening on the traditional podcast platforms or you're watching this here on YouTube, put my headphone back on YouTube, I greatly appreciate your presence here because you don't have to be here, and I greatly appreciate it. I want to start off with a few quotes from a Jamaican spiritual teacher that you guys have been hearing me talk about recently, because I feel like these quotes resonated with me as I was taking my walk this morning, and I was like, man, that'd be so dope to share on the podcast. And so that's what I'm going to start off with. And as I share them, I'm going to just kind of let it be what it is, and then we'll come back and kind of discuss some ideas from it. So Muji is the teacher that I'm talking about. He was speaking to someone who had an issue with a chaotic mind. Many people go to Muji when they want to get some clarity on what's going on with their mind, what's going on with their consciousness, what's going on with their self, what's going on with sort of the voice in their head that is quote unquote attacking them. And I actually had to start off my day with this quote because I felt like it was just so powerful. I put it on my Twitter, so I'm going to pull up my Twitter right now, and I want you guys to be able to get this. He says, "When the mind has gone chaotic, who is it attacking? Is it you? Is it awareness itself?" He says, no. It is attacking something called a background, your personal identity. Woo, bar. Here's another one. And mine, just like a 45 minute sort of session he's having with people who are dealing with very similar issues. And he just drops bars every once in a while that I'm just like, I got to share that. But I only share it after I get some form of understanding myself. Here's another one. He said, when you're full of love, you never feel bloated. When you're full of mind, that's another story. I love him because he has a crazy sense of humor you wouldn't expect of somebody who, is in that, I guess, guru a lane, if you would want to call it that. I feel like I don't even want to call him a guru. He's really a great teacher. Another thing he says, your mind is troubled when it is peaceful because it has no room to play. It's like a voice inside your head yelling, boring, boring. He said, it's not your job to do anything about this except for observe it. Then the last quote, life takes care of life. And so as I think about this last week and I think about this was the official launch of the first official kit on the Slap Experts website, which is the sound design company that I started with my boy, Oh Gosh. It got me really reflected on the last few months and things that we've already talked about, but it got me really reflected in seeing it from a very zoomed out, broad point of view, in that life really does take care of itself. It's no different from that quote that I always say from Tony Robbins, which is life is constantly happening for you and not to you. You are not a victim. Whatever happens in your life inevitably is setting you up for the biggest blessing you've ever seen, if you choose to view it that way. And so when I think about life taking care of itself, I think of, somebody left a quote or left a comment on these posts because I've been going ham on my Instagram. I've been going crazy on my Twitter and of course, with these podcasts. And I'm not even thinking about me going crazy on it. I just listen to what everybody else is saying because they're a perspective I don't have. When you're in the perspective, you're not thinking that you're going crazy. At least you don't think that when you're not doing it for those reasons. I'm doing it simply because I have so much to give. And now I found a balance between giving to others and also giving to myself. And in the midst of that, somebody told me, they said, man, Curtis, man, like that time that you had off, it must have been something that really, really did you well, man. And I'm glad that you went through what you went through. And I thought about it and I was like, you know what? I'm glad I went through it too, because once again, life takes care of life. And if I choose to sit back and just watch the last few months, and it's a funny 90s movie in which you kind of know the ending of the movie already if you're watching it, but you're so intrigued that you watch anyway, right? They go through all the cliche tragedy to triumph scenes, right? You see the guy at his lowest point. You see him saying, well, I don't know what to do next. What do you want from me? You get that scene. And then you get the guy who all of a sudden starts with one simple thing. Then he starts writing, right? Maybe he's an author. He starts typing away at his computer. And instead of being frustrated, he's like finally saying, you know what? I'm just going to do it. And it's like you already know where this montage is going, but you watch because it's somewhat addicting. Remove my nose piercing. It's kind of bothering me. It's somewhat addicting. It's like, you want to see it through. You want to see it happen. And so I look at that and I feel the same way of the same thing occurred with me. And as I take my walks in the morning, as I think about what Muji said, especially about a chaotic mind, that has been something that I know that I have been very familiar with. Have you been familiar with it? I know that a lot of producers in the community that come across me, they tend to come to me when things are at the worst, right? Or things are at their peak and they have no idea what to do next, or they feel like they have no idea what to do next. And what I always tell them is that it's not my place to solve your issues, but literally to be a soundboard that asks more intelligent questions, right? Because if you ask yourself, why does this keep happening to me? That's not an intelligent question. Your brain's going to be like, well, because you're an idiot, because you repeatedly make the same beat over and over again, dummy. So ask a more intelligent question. And so this is what my role is in every one of these situations, especially on my IG. Like, go follow me on IG at Curtis King. Follow us at Sound Experts on IG. But I jump on there in the live streams and I talk to producers. Like, I talked to a young producer who, had his mind set on, I want to get signed to this label. He said, I've been signed to other labels, but this is the label I want to go to. And I warned him that I didn't want to kill his ambition. I just wanted to make sure that he was pulling ambitious energy from a healthy spot, from a healthy place. Because whenever you invest so much of your happiness and fulfillment, because I asked him, I said, simple question, what do you think is going to be different if you sign to them, when you sign to them? What do you think is going to be better? And it was hard for him to answer, even though it sounds like a simple question. It was hard for him to answer because he's so on fire. He's so all over the place. Like, well, I don't know, man. Like, and where we really deduced it to is that it was a feeling he was going after. And it was a feeling he could give himself. It was a feeling that he could achieve with his own accomplishments. And what I tried to do was, like I said, not take steam out of having ambition or having goals. By all means, have those. Just don't let them have you. Because at the end of the day, they can't exist without you. You're the one that concocts these dreams, concocts these, these goals and these plateaus or these mountaintops that you want to reach. You create that. The mountaintops don't just create themselves. So I needed him to get back in control of himself and realize that the chaos going on inside his mind would inevitably come back to bite him in the ass, even if he did sign. Because what's going to happen is that it's the same thing with any of us. When we put our happiness and our fulfillment in a goal that we can't even control, right? Most of the stuff is not of our control anyways, but in the example of wanting to be signed, that's not a decision that's up to him. No matter how great his music is, if that label doesn't want to sign anybody or not sign him, they don't want to sign him. You can't control that. So to put your worth, your self-worth, and your confidence and happiness in that place doesn't make any sense. And so what I tried to get him in a place of was to remember the things that brings him joy, to remember what makes him the most happy about the process, to get him remembering what is the actual gift of creating music. And when he focused in on that, I told him, I said, look, what do you think is going to change once you get signed? Do you think that you're going to get signed and no longer have to work as hard as you're working right now? They're going to expect that upon entry. What happens when now the thing that you love so much, that you're so passionate about, that you'll do anything for, which is music, what happens when you need that to pay the bills? What happens when you no longer are making creative decisions based upon the joy of creativity, but you're making creative decisions based upon, I don't want to get dropped from this label? Or you're making creative decisions based upon, I don't want to lose these things that I've bought with this signing bonus. And I don't know what point it actually started to resonate with him, but I just saw his shoulders kind of go down and you could see he kind of like chill, just relax for a second and realize I am being very obsessive about something that I cannot control the elements within. And like I said, this is not a call for him to be 1,000% still and do nothing or be stagnant. This is a call for him to have a healthier relationship with the things that he aspires to get or to be. And so that's important. I need to pull back this other quote because I want to kind of unpack this a little bit. Your mind is troubled when it's peaceful because it has no room to play. So many people, when they talk about meditation, have such a big issue with meditating, especially music producers. Like, how many of music producers that are out there, how many of you try to meditate or try to keep your mind silent and you are thinking about either what you have to do today because it's your day off from work, or you're hearing some music in your head, or, you know, maybe you listen to a beat and then you're so irritated because you're like, man, why can't my stuff just sound like that? Like, what's the difference between my stuff and the stuff that's on the radio? Like, there's some kind of mix. Is it mixing? Is it master? What is it? And your mind just goes so chaotic. Well, this happens especially when you're trying to be peaceful, especially when you're trying to meditate. And that's something for me that's a big issue. Not as big of an issue because I've been really working on it, but it's an issue is that I thought when I was at a peaceful place and chaos came, I thought that meant that I had a disturbance within. I thought that meant there was something wrong with me. And this is literally just human nature, according to Muji. The mind is troubled when it's peaceful because it has no room to play. When you think about the mind as this, how can I put it? The mind is this force that is detached from who you really are. Who you really are has nothing to do with the identities that you create. Some people say, well, I'm a king. Some people say, well, I'm a father. Well, I'm a brother. I'm a husband. These are titles that came after who you originally were. Who were you originally before all that? I was a baby. I was a sperm. Okay, smart ass. But who were you before there was any terms to identify that? That is yourself. That is true self. Not who you aspire to be, not who you will be if you get a placement. That is true self. And so when the mind is troubling you, it usually comes around when you're at peace because it's like a child. It's like a child with all these titles and all these identifications, things that you identify with. It's this background noise. Your mind is background noise, and it wants to distract who the true owner of all this is yourself and wants to distract you, consciousness, it wants to distract you away from your actual goal of peace. It's like a child and it's yelling out, boring. Nobody wants. Why are you listening to this podcast? Are you that bored? What's wrong with your life? Oh my God, go make a beat. That's what your mind is saying. But you got to be able to not try to control it, not try to get rid of it. The second part, which I didn't mention in that quote, was observe this. Don't change it. Don't fight it. Don't try to control it. Observe it. And be grateful that you can observe it. A lot of the times when we're sitting in this place where our mind is just going in all these different directions, we forget the fact that, wait a minute, what happens to me when I'm able to observe the mind attacking or working on me? What happens? Right? Or working on my identity, I should say. What happens? Like, you get to sit back and look at that. Being able to observe that is something to be grateful for. So that's what I wanted to start off today's podcast with. I didn't want to go too deep with it, but I wanted to be at least something that hopefully plants a seed. This last week has been crazy. We launched the Stoic drum pack or sound pack. Me and the homie, oh gosh, the Yodas, man, the last day that we actually started to put it together was crazy because he pulled up on a Friday and we literally dedicated like 5 or 6 hours to sounds that would eventually be in this free pack. And, you know, we just kept adding more sounds. Like, it was supposed to only be like 500 megabytes and then it got to 600, then it got to 700. And we just kept adding because I think for both of us, and maybe I'm late to the party, but we were having so much fun with the process. You know, taking a stock sound or taking a sound that nobody would associate with ever becoming an 808 or a kick, that thrills me. That genuinely gives me enthusiasm. Like, I have so much enthusiasm when I'm sitting here, you know, with a shower, like I'm in the shower, right? And look at the shower head and then I try to adjust it. Then my ring taps it and I'm like, oh, that'll be a crazy hi-hat. Like, I love that my mind is working like that again, because before it'd be like, yeah, that's a crazy hi-hat, but that's for somebody else. But now I cannot turn that part of my mind off, and it's bringing me so much peace, so much happiness to operate like that. And so we released the pack on Monday. And I talked to you guys on the Sunday before. I went live and I previewed the sounds and people were like, this is so crazy. How are you giving all of this stuff for free, man? And to reiterate that here, the goal is not to get y'all money, right? I know right now I have the ability to create a product from scratch that will generate income. I can guarantee it will generate income. I can't guarantee it'll generate a lot of income, but I guarantee it will generate income. Money is no longer the emblem on the front of the car or the vehicle that is me. Okay, that does not represent me. That is a byproduct of where I'm already driving. And so that's not the concern. The concern for me, not even concern is the wrong word. The focus for me is to create the most amazing sounds that I can from scratch, original sounds. Since I finally know how to do it the right way, I'm just focused on creating sounds that can help elevate any producer who touches these sounds and puts them into their beats. They feel like some kind of elevation occurred. Even if it's me giving you a melody loop that soothes some issues within you. I know this sounds really freaky and weird, but if it soothes some issues within you as you're creating music and it makes you like appreciate making music, that brings me so much joy. Now, that's not to say that I'm never going to put anything out for sale. Let's not be crazy now. I still got bills. I got a wedding that I got to plan for with my wife, and it's going to be a pretty penny. I got a Tesla I'm trying to pull up in. I'm trying to listen to Muji in a Tesla. What? Come on, don't play with me. Don't play. I'm trying to listen to Les Brown and a Tesla and remember the journey that we had to get there. Not because I need a Tesla, because I just want to pull up in a Tesla. So I got goals as well, but I know the same thing that I knew when I started YouTube, which is you will not achieve any of these goals until you find a way to provide value to an equivalent number of people that in turn choose to pay you using the tool of money for the value that you have given them. So I have delivered value in so many ways through YouTube videos and through courses and content, not so much through sounds. And so now as I embark on this journey, my mind is fully focused on giving you the best sound experience you have ever experienced. And I don't care if that means everybody. I think that just means me. Is if I give you a pack one day or 1 month, the next month, please believe it's going to be something that I have improved on. And that's something else too, is you guys get to see me grow right before your eyes, right? You get to see my failures, my setbacks, my triumphs in all of this. And so I'm super excited, man, to launch Slap Experts. I'm glad that folks understand the idea of Slap Experts. You know, me and our homies, like me and Oh Gosh, we always say like when a beat is hard, like it's like a Bay Area slang. A beat slaps, that beat slaps. Oh my God, it slaps so hard. And that's why we feel like we're the Slap Experts. But the expert kind of reminds me of like, what is it? What is the Best Buy? The Geek Squad. Is that what they call it? Geek Squad? Yeah. We're like the Geek Squad of Slap is what I like to view it as. And so it lets me get kind of crazy with the marketing. But I got to tell you, when I change directions with all of the stuff that I'm doing now with sound design, my clarity has never been. I'm like, this might be in 4K. I'm in like 46K right now. Don't look at me like that. Videographer looking at me crazy like doesn't even exist, Kurt. What the hell are you talking about? I'm in 46K right now. How clear I see things because now I finally understand it. And I'm like, I don't have to think of what kind of content to make for this. I just have to do what I'm already doing and record it, then post it, and make sure that the caption is something that people want to respond to. It's easy as that. I don't have to go through all of these different loops and yada yada trying to figure out, what's the strategy? How do I beat we're not trying to beat the algorithm. Leave the algorithm alone. I was talking to my homie Ray earlier about this. I was like, don't fight the algorithm. Just create the stuff that you like. Have a good time doing it, and people are going to want to join in on your good time, no matter what it is. Even if they don't understand it, they want to join in. And so with Slap Experts, man, I got to say shout out to Aaron Barber and YLM Beats and Pearl Manhattan, because in addition to Oh Gosh and I being the primary sound designers, these are folks who are volunteering their time and their talent to provide you the best sounds that you can get your hands on for free. And they're also sharing this so that, of course, you can go look into the stuff that they have as well, because they all have packs for sale or for free that you can check out. And I'm excited to share this platform with them. Where did I find them? Curtis King TV, which is now known as Curtis King University. And so within that community, with people that I have talked to, I have been able to have the opportunity to mentor, to share my information with. I found some amazing talents in there. Aaron Barber on the piano. Oh my gosh. If you haven't got the Stoic Pack, or if you have got the Stoic Pack, do you know who Aaron Barber is now? If you didn't know, do you know now? Hello. Ridiculous on the piano. YLM Beats. Crazy on the guitar. Nice vibes that you can create like super lo-fi type stuff with it. How many of you cooked up with those guitars? You know who your local musician is now? Hello. Pearl Manhattan. She gave us some cinematic vocals that we use and tweaked and added different things to it. You know Pearl Manhattan's voice now. Get familiar with these folks, man. Because in the future, when you get packs now, it'll be very Cymatics-like in that you won't know exactly who did what. but you'll know that it stands on a strong brand. And I am pushing for Slap Experts to be a strong brand that can stand with the heavyweights and the leaders within this realm. But that's too far in the future to even think about. Right now, I'm focused on the present. And in this present moment, I want to say thank you for once again watching another episode of the Curtis King Podcast, listening to another episode of the Curtis King Podcast. For those of you that are on the social medias, please follow me at Curtis King 2 S's. Follow Slap Experts as well, which is at Slap Experts. Follow us up there on there as well. And I just look forward to continuing to share as much value as I can as I sort of kind of find my way in being a student on an endless journey. I love being able to absorb this information, put it into action, and then turn right around and be like, here's what I learned. Hopefully this can help you as well. In this life, you will not be full of life until you decide to live life to its fullest. Please share with a friend this podcast. Also, too, leave a comment in the comments below in the YouTube video version of this video explaining what was your favorite quote from this podcast. I want to know. What would you like me to talk more about in the future? Let me know. Have a good one. Peace.